Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Consider the following statements with respect to Model Code of Conduct. The Model Code of Conduct is enforced from the date of announcement of election schedule by the Election Commission and is operational till the process of elections are completed. It is legally enforceable document. Karnataka was the first state to adopt a code of conduct for elections in 1960. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a mention of model code of conduct. What is this model code of conduct? As the very name denotes, it is a code of conduct prescribed to the political parties. Whenever there is elections, what we have is a consensus that is built about by the political parties so that they can carry their functions and their processions and their meetings, and the conduct that is prescribed is what is called as model code of conduct. So the model code of conduct is nothing but guidelines to all the political parties in India which they have to follow whenever there is an election schedule prescribed by the Election Commission of India. So the Election Commission has designed the model code of conduct to ensure free and fair elections, and this is as per the consensus reached by the political parties. So when we look into the first option, yes, the model code of conduct is enforced from the date of announcement of election schedule by the Election Commission, and it will be operational till the elections are completed. So the first statement is right. The second statement says it is legally enforceable document. This is a wrong statement as it is not legally enforceable. The ECI does not have the power to penalize the violators of the model code of conduct. It generally issues the show cause to the violators, and in some cases it also bars the candidates from the political campaign. So the second statement is wrong. The third statement says Karnataka was the first state to adopt a code of conduct for elections in 1960. This is once again a wrong statement. Why? Because it was not Karnataka but instead it was Kerala which was the first state to adopt a code of conduct for elections in 1960. When we speak about the model code of conduct, it can be broadly categorized into three different compartments. One speaks about the general conduct, second it speaks about the meetings, and third it speaks about the processions. What is it about the general conduct? Whenever there is a political party or a political candidate from a particular constituency contesting in that particular constituency, they should not be asking votes in the name of caste or religion or ethnicity, so on and so forth. And their words, their statement should not brew hatred or cause tension between different caste groups and communities. That happens to be the first model code of conduct. Then we speak about the guidelines on the meetings. What happens? The party or the candidate will have to inform the local police authorities. The local police authorities should know the venue and time of such meetings of such political candidates. And third, it also prescribes the guidelines when it comes to the processions. So if these political parties are taking a procession from the source to the destination, they have to follow this source and the destination. They cannot change the route map, they cannot change the place as well, and where it will start, where it will terminate will all have to be communicated to the local police as well. Such is what is called as the model code of conduct. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following states are covered under inner line permit? Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Sikkim. The answer to this is 1, 2, 4 and 5 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference of the inner line permit. What is this inner line permit? This is a travel document officially issued by Mizoram government, Nagaland government, Arunachal Pradesh, and the fourth state that is present happens to be Manipur. So this is a travel document issued by these states in India so that any person from India would be able to travel to these states. Without the permission given by the state government, a person would not be able to travel to this particular state. So in this particular travel document, the date would be given, the duration would also be given. So So any person would be able to travel in this particular state only for that particular date and the duration. If they happen to overstay, it can also be declared illegal as well. What is the importance of the inner line permit? It helps in saving of the indigenous culture and the tradition. It prevents illegal migrants and the encroachment, and at the same time it helps in maintaining the demographic balance in that particular state. So the inner line permit is one of the travel documents issued by the state governments of the state permitting inland travel of Indian citizen in this protected territory. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to gharials, which of the following statements are correct? They are endemic to the Indian subcontinent. They are recognized as keystone species. It is listed as critically endangered on IUCN Red List. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the gharials. When we look into the first option says they are endemic to the Indian subcontinent. This is the right statement. The second statement says they are recognized as the keystone species. Yes, they are recognized as a keystone species. What is a keystone species? This happens to be a species or an organism that helps define an entire ecosystem. If this particular species all of a sudden vanishes from that part of the ecosystem, any other species would not be able to fulfill all that it was able to balance in that ecosystem. So basically no other species would be able to fill its ecological niche, and at the same time this particular case when we speak about gharials, it is a keystone species. It is a good indicator of clean river water as it brings the nutrients from the bottom of the riverbed to the surface, thus increasing primary production and fish populations. Since it helps as a good indicator of clean river water, it is called as the keystone species. Yes, it is listed as critically endangered as per the IUCN Red List. So all the three statements are right. So the answer to this would be C, 1, 2 and 3. The article further makes a mention of the Orang National Park. The Orang National Park is in the state of Assam. This can also be important from the preliminary examination point of view. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. It is a country in Northeast Africa. It borders countries like Chad and Libya. It is known as the place with the world's largest collection of pyramids. The above statements best describe. The answer to this is Sudan. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article here makes a mention of Sudan. If you look into all these options, it is a country in the Northeast Africa. Yes. It borders countries like Chad and Libya. Yes. When we look into the third statement, most of us would assume the world's largest collection of pyramids would be Egypt, but it is not, but instead it is Sudan. So remember, Sudan is known as the place with the world's largest collection of pyramids, and that is why the answer to this would be Sudan, which is B. Now let's look into the next practice question. What is the purpose of Vidyanjali Yojana? To enable the famous foreign educational institutions to open their campuses in India, to increase the quality of education provided in government schools by taking help from the private sector and the community, to encourage voluntary monetary contributions from private individuals and organizations so as to improve the infrastructure facilities for primary and secondary schools. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The answer to this is 2 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2017. So when it comes to the Vidyanjali Yojana, remember it is a school volunteer program. This was an initiative undertaken by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, and also remember it was launched to increase the quality of education. There is no role for the foreign educational institutions, or it will not encourage voluntary monetary contributions as well. It is only 2, which is the right answer. So the answer to this would be 5A. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is green hydrogen. What is this green hydrogen? What are the different types of hydrogen that we currently have? What is green hydrogen? Green hydrogen is the hydrogen that is extracted from water using a method called as electrolysis that is powered by the renewable energy. So if hydrogen is extracted from water, making use of the renewable source of energy, that is what is called as green hydrogen. So as the very name denotes, we are making use of the renewable source of energy, because of which there are zero carbon emissions, which is why it is called as green hydrogen. How does this work? We make use of the wind or the solar energy. It is this solar or the wind energy that is used to generate the hydrogen, and the hydrogen that is generated is safely stored, and that is transported through a particular network. So what is green hydrogen? It is the hydrogen that is extracted by making use of the renewable sources of energy. There are different types of hydrogen. One is what is called as the brown hydrogen. What does it mean? Hydrogen produced when coal is transformed under high pressure conditions, and the resulting carbon dioxide is released back into the air. When hydrogen is produced by making use of coal as the source, and when the entire process is completed, there is release of the carbon that takes place, which is called as the brown hydrogen. So the brown hydrogen, the source that is being used is coal. Then we have the gray hydrogen, where the source that it is produced is using natural gas. In brown hydrogen it is coal, in gray hydrogen it is natural gas, and when it comes to blue hydrogen it is natural gas as well. But what would happen? The carbon that is released is immediately captured and stored, thereby avoiding carbon emission. What are the advantages of green hydrogen? As we have discussed, it makes use of the renewable energy, so it will help in reduction of the greenhouse gases, and at the same time many polluting industries like cement and fertilizers can now adopt hydrogen as their high quality fuel. What are the challenges when it comes to the green hydrogen production? When it comes to the challenges, the process of electrolysis that we speak about is comparatively expensive. So this process happens to be an expensive one, and at the same time the storage of hydrogen that we spoke about happens to be a complex exercise. And finally, setting up this entire infrastructure would also be costly, so it will take time to bring this transition to produce the green hydrogen. It is this that we have to understand in reference to green hydrogen. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.